Hi, my name is Dom Laporte, and the coolest shit I ever did was pursue my art as a career and lifestyle.
Welcome back to the Do More Cool Shit podcast. My name's Sean McDonnell. You're the creative nerds that are listening, and happy Monday. And if you're not listening on a Monday, it's just because you're listening on the second Monday or the third Monday. We love a good Monday here. It's a brand new week, an opportunity to go out, do anything you want. So welcome in episode 46, Making a Business Out of Art with Dom Laporte. An amazing conversation. I'm so happy to be able to bring this conversation to you. Dom and I have a long history of knowing each other, sharing a couple beers, and I admire his work. An amazing artist, an amazing mural artist, an amazing entrepreneur, business owner. But that's coming up. Before we get into it, episode 45. If you haven't had a chance to go back and listen to that, I definitely need you to go back and listen there. 6 tips to staying open to opportunity. I think it's so important that we keep ourselves open to opportunities, and we get lost in that world sometimes. So in that episode, we talk a lot about different ways of keeping yourself open and to trying to explore and expand your creative side of yourself. So definitely go give that a listen. In 2 more Mondays from now, I'll be coming back with episode 47, where I'll be talking about how to find optimistic outlook, how to change your how to change your outlook on life, and how to find some silver linings in some dark times, and how to really push yourself. And hopefully we'll have some exercises there to be able to change some of the way you think. So that's coming up in 2 Mondays, but let's dive into what we're talking about today. I think it is so paramount. I know so many creatives, so many interesting people who are doing so much incredible work, and I absolutely love the work that they're doing. But man, does it ever bother me sometimes when I know that they could just push themselves a little bit more, if we could learn a little bit more about the business side of arts, because man, nothing bothers me worse than when people and society as a whole talk about starving artists. I fucking hate it. I hate the idea of starving artists. We don't have to be starving artists anymore. You have amazing opportunities now. We have more opportunities now than we've ever had before to make a living as an artist. And making a living as an artist, or even as a creative in general, can be done in so many different ways, and with so many more varied tools. And point an example before I go in too long of a rant is Dom Laporte, an amazing human being, an amazing artist, amazing mural artist, an amazing entrepreneur, an amazing business person who just keeps growing and pushing himself beyond the limits of what one would think a traditional artist is. And it's one of the reasons that I wanted to have this conversation. It's one of the reasons that I wanted to bring this conversation to you guys. Of course, I'm excited. This is another episode where if you're craving more red beard in your life, then please tune into the YouTube channel over there, youtube.com/@ do more cool shit. You'll find us over there. Dom and I are having that conversation. This is, in fact, this is a monumental episode for this podcast. It's the first time that we're having an in-person studio conversation. So that's recorded via video over there. Of course, you can always just listen here. If you're listening on Spotify or any other platforms, please continue to do so. But if you want to give us a quick look on YouTube, we're over there as well. But I'm so excited because Dom has meandered his way. He started with 33 ducks. And you'll know more as you listen on. But he started his whole career with 33 ducks, and now is traveling the world with his partner, both his business partner and his life partner, all wrapped up into one. And they are traveling and making these beautiful, huge, incredible friggin' murals. And man, I have watched Dom's artwork go from small paintings here in local shops and local galleries and stuff. I love being able to see that, and I've loved seeing his growth all the way through. And to have this conversation, to sit down and have that conversation with him was just phenomenal. We talked about all kinds of things. One of the things being that there was just never a plan B for Dom, and I love that. We talked about that. We talked about that you just have to keep making the work. There's no opportunities to where you can't feel inspired, you know. And I love that Dom and I cover kind of how he stays inspired. Traveling obviously is one. He used to do a lot of portraiture work, and he talks about now why nature is inspiring him, and the murals, the types of murals he's doing now. And I think it's absolutely incredible. You're going to want to tune in and listen to kind of hear the evolution of how Dom went from artist to muralist to now business owner, traveling the country and traveling the world, really, not even just the country, but traveling the world. Right now, as we speak, Dom, I believe, is sleeping and traveling and doing art all over the world. As we're speaking right now, he is doing that. We talk about a little bit about his passion, not only for making the art, but the actual making the highs and the lows of what comes with that, and loving the journey of how that goes, and how the lows can actually push up the highs even higher, which I think is really, really important. I also really love that we talk about rejection. Dom has some really good takes about rejection and how that has affected his art and how that affects his style. I love his opinion on that. But most of all, one of the things we talk about is being professional, and how to be professional, and how to elevate not just making art, but selling art and being a business owner. So I'm not going to say any more than that. This is good. Hopefully one of the shortest intros I've ever done. I'm trying to shorten these intros because I want to get you into the conversations as much as you can. I appreciate you guys. You guys have been friggin' amazing. I love hearing your feedback. If you're working on stuff, of course, you know, you can always send me what you're working on, what the projects are at domorecoolshit.com. I love hearing from you guys. And please enjoy this conversation I have with Dom, and I will see you on the other side. Well, welcome to the Do More Cool Shit podcast,
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
We've gone way back, and then it's been a long time since we've seen each other, but now here we are.
Pre-pandemic.
Life,
pretty crazy.
Life has happened.
Yeah.
So I was hanging out on your website, and I was like, oh, I wonder what Dom's been up to. So I've been following, you know, the Instagram things. I've been checking everything out, following along as you've kind of been growing your art practice. And then I started counting your CV's there.
Yeah. Oh, right.
I was like,
yeah.
I wonder how many murals this guy's done. I was trying to
you actually counted. Damn, I
Yeah.
don't remember the last time I counted.
I was like, you're inching to, well, on the website anyway, from 2014 to 2023, you're inching very, very close to 100.
To 100 projects.
Yeah. You're very, very close.
I didn't know if I was there yet. I think, 2024 will be the year. Actually, with the projects I planned for 2024, already, I guess I'll be over 100. But
that's freaking wild.
Yeah,
that's freaking wild. I couldn't believe it because I was like, oh, I think I remembered like sitting down and having some beers, and you're like, oh, I like, you know, you were exhibiting some art. I don't even know if you maybe had done a few murals, but
it was definitely more. Yeah, like when I got out of school in 2015. It was definitely more focused on being an illustrator, being a commercial illustrator, and then I realized that my work is not working at all in terms of editorial work, and I'm gonna completely bomb in that way. Yeah. And then I was still doing fine art. I still do some fine art, but like it's just such a different world. And like I was doing some murals with some artists here, and my brother included and stuff, and getting into painting big walls. And I was like, okay, this is an actual way to make a living, like a real living, and not just I sold 3 paintings this year, you know, like so. But but it's kind of skyrocketed since.
It's been bonkers.
Crazy. Yeah, it's been insane. It really has.
That's amazing.
Super grateful for it. Yeah,
it's good to see. It's good to see it. Like I don't know. I was impressed to see the number.
Yeah.
And just like the breadth of like where and what you've done. You know, it's been kind of cool. So that's been fun. I also think there was like something like 20 plus exhibitions along the way as well. So like
group shows and stuff. They're a little few and far between a little bit. I'm only represented by the Annex Gallery and the OAG. So that's all I got going now in terms of galleries and stuff. But I'm always trying to branch out. I'm applying to everything, anything and everything. You know, like. It's about putting yourself out there, like first and foremost, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, so that's where you're at now, but you didn't start there. So I know just from reading a bunch of different things that you started your journey mostly with ducks.
Oh, right.
33 of them, to be specific, is what I read in the Ottawa Life magazine. I think you did an interview in 2019.
And I forgot that. We talked about it then. It's the only
33 ducks.
33 ducks. Yeah, when I was 4 or 5 years old, my mom had a studio in the basement of our house, and she's a painter as well. And yeah, she said I just sat down one day, the little square format paper, 12 by 12 or something, and then I just sat and like for a few hours and just 33 ducks was like the end result, and different colors and shit. Yeah, it's weird. And then she kept everything, right? So it's like they're very much preserved in good shape and stuff. But I think that kind of showed like I had something on my mind and needed to get something out even at that age, you know? So it's pretty cool to look back at that now, to be like, okay, maybe I had something going then, you know?
Well, and I think as I was reading that, I realized that you talked a lot about like your mom was creative. Well, your whole family is creative.
Yeah, absolutely.
And obviously I'm always trying to dig up like why do some people remain creative? Why do some people drop off?
Yeah.
And that's part of what the whole Do More Cool Shit thing has kind of been is, you know, is everybody creative? And I think, you know, I read through, so I've been, you know, and I think there's definitely in an article somewhere you said, yes, I think so, but people drop off. And actually I had a really good, I think it was with Wallachs that you did this again in 2019. And it was you talked about painting and drawing as a kid, but the people lose it as we get older. And you just said you never lost it.
Yeah.
Why do you think you never lost it?
Well, I think like growing up in a creative family and having artists in the family, like, you know, they saw that like me wanting to be an artist as a little kid, you know, that my mom and my dad were like, yeah, like you could, you know, like it is a thing. They understand that world, you know, and like I think they always encourage me, and they never, you know, I'm not like, my family's not really like a plan B family in terms of like, you know, like we don't have a lot of like to fall back on. We're not thinking of that. It's like I have an idea now, I'm going for it. That's kind of how we're like, everyone in my family like works for themselves more or less, self-employed, you know, had their own store, own shop or whatever, you know, freelance, you know, things like that. So I think it's just not being discouraged to the point where you're just like, okay, like I can't do this, you know, and I'm not going to make, I'm not going to be making money. I don't know. Yeah. Just getting to the point where like the fun's stripped out of it because you're so worried that you're not going to survive or something, you know?
Right.
But I think it was just that, just having the family to support and having the drive to just do it. Like I always tell people like, this is just, my art is very much who I am. It's very like, I can't see a life where I don't do it, because it's like, it's a part of me. I do it like regardless if I'm making money, you know, like, and it, like, thankfully I do make some money now, but like, you know, but it hasn't been that long, right? Like I clearly remember the times where I'm like, shit, like this is fucking way harder. This is tough. This is no joke.
But I like that you said that that's what I wrote down, was like not a plan B family.
Right.
So like that was just, you were just always going to be an artist? Is that like, at what point did you decide like, oh, this is actually going to be a career?
I have a book my mom used to read to me as a kid. It was called The Artist. So I'm pretty sure that's where it started. It was just about this kid who got this box of crayons. We can look it up after. I don't know if you want to pepper it in, but like, I can't remember the author's name now.
But it's called the Artist?
It's called The Artist, yeah. It's just about this little boy, and he has like an art teacher come into his class, and like they're asked to draw like a turkey or something, and whatever, so on and so forth. But like that book just like completely, I was like, yeah, I want to be an artist because like I love drawing, and you know, it's very much like a childhood dream, right? It's just like,
how old were you, do you think, when you read that?
Oh, like 6, 7.
Okay,
I've always known, I've always had that, I've always wanted to do that. I'm very lucky in that way, because I asked, you know, some friends of mine and stuff, and you know, like they just like, you know, some people just don't know what they want to do with their life, right? And it's a very difficult thing for some people, and I'm like, I'm lucky I knew. I don't know. I'm glad it worked out, because
there's no backup plan.
Yeah, maybe that, or like play soccer or something like that, you know, which is another like lofty, pretty much impossible dream. Yeah. But yeah.
So that was so 6. So walk me through like going through school wise then. Are you just bored and you're just like, can I just be an artist now?
I was always like competitive and stuff. So like, yeah. So like, I don't know if I like school. I was like good in school up to like mid high school, and then I was like a pretty horrible student, but always into the art aspect. Like I went to Canterbury and visual arts program, whatever. So I did like, you know, very much like 52 in math and like, you know, 95 in art, right? Like
right,
that,
you're like that's
that.
fine.
Yeah,
that's
I was like that kid. Yeah, as long as I passed, and then And then it was only when, it was only when I went to like Sheridan for illustration that I actually like really started to love school, and I was very like into the other like, you know, psychology and whatever social movements and protests and what, you know, like random other topics that aren't just like me painting, you know, and being a hermit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wasn't the best student though.
Well, I feel like that would probably be because you would just be bored by like, I just want to be an artist, like especially if you were 6 and then like, you know,
yeah, like high school was brutal. It really, you know, but at that time, but it's like you just want to be with your friends anyway and stuff. And I was like doing graffiti at that time, and like so very
was
much
it good
just
graffiti?
Like, hey,
was it good graffiti?
I can show you. I don't know. I don't. It definitely. I think it got to an okay place, but I would never call myself a graffiti writer just because you know, I don't do like illegal work, you know, so. But it definitely started out horribly for sure.
I never mind graffiti because I think it's interesting, but I just want it to be good. You know, I was like, if you're gonna tag up a wall, do something good with it.
No,
you know?
for sure. There's a lot. Just
put a stupid, I don't know, whatever.
Well, the unwritten rule is like, you know, it's like, hey, start out in your sketchbook. You know, work on your skills there.
Right.
When you think you're ready to go to the street, that's when you start putting up on the street. You don't practice on the street, right?
Right.
You're always practicing in like. Yeah. You know, in that respect, right? Developing, but you know, it's like if you know, you go up and you be like, this looks like shit, and then it's like, well, you probably didn't try to practice it enough in your sketchbook first, you know.
What is that? What's happening when you watch? Sometimes you'll see like one wall with like the same 5 tags or something. And it's like, I was like, are you just practicing here? What's happening?
Well, it's putting up their name, like, taking up more space. Yeah, it's an identity thing, right? It's like people. Well, that was the origin. Like, you know, people put their name up because they had no voice, they had no identity, right? But that was, you know, that was like the original kind of. I guess meaning behind graffiti and like what it meant in certain places like New York in the 70s and 80s and like even Brazil and places now where it's like very political and then, you know, there's gang graffiti and all this stuff. There's so many different like facets to it. But now it's just like, you know, okay, some white kid in the suburbs putting up his name on a mailbox, right? That's more or less how I grew up. I grew up, right? So it was less, you know, no one sees me, I better write my name. It's like, maybe it's just fun. I don't know.
Right. Also, maybe it's just fun. Yeah, that's fair. That's kind of funny. Yeah, I don't know. That's a funny world to me, but that's interesting that you kind of got in there a little bit.
Yeah,
but then kind of moved on a little bit. Right?
Yeah, for sure. And that was like, you know, I had like several friends and my brother and stuff, and you know, getting me into that world and hip hop and stuff all at the same time, and big influence for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think? So let's go back to the idea that I think a lot of people could be creative, but they maybe lose along the way. What do you think sucks it out of people or stops people from being creative? I know, like you said, you had your family being supportive,
right?
I mean, I guess the opposite probably.
Yeah, I think so. I think, you know, you want to be a musician, right? And it's like, or you want to be an artist or any kind of creative act. I think it's really important that you like dedicate time to it. Obviously you can't do that while you're, you know, all your time while you're in school and things like that. But I think being discouraged and not being shown or being allowed to like really express yourself in the way that you're going to be able to do this for the long term. I think that's really damaging as a kid, because, you know, obviously your role models and your parents and your teachers and whoever, you know, they're saying like, no, like you're not going to be a guitar player. Like, come on, you know, like you're going to go into this, like, and then people they're like, they believe them. Right. And I think it's as simple as that. I think it's like your tribe, like your community is definitely important as a kid to keep creativity thriving.
Yeah. So finding that's one thing that we talk about here a lot, and I've heard other people talk about it, is like finding the people. So when so you had your family, but did you start finding when did you start finding a good group of other peers maybe?
Yeah, I had like some neighborhood friends and stuff, like who started doing graffiti, and but it really, like when I went to Canterbury, that's like when I met that's when I met people from all over the city, right? Because everyone goes there. And for
those listening that are not in the city, Canterbury is like a very specialized.
Yeah, it's a specialized art school, so there's like dance, theater, like drama, literary arts, visual arts. I think that's it. But but I met people from, I was from Orleans, so I met people from Orleans, maybe Ottawa South, Glebe, Canada, Westboro, everywhere, West End, East End. So you meet all these different creative people, and a lot of my best friends.
How do you get in there?
Eh?
How do you get in there? How do you get into Canterbury, or do you just apply?
Oh, you have to, You have to.
So you're like through the front door, you idiot.
Oh yeah.
How do you get
it's
be
like
accepted?
Right off Walkley. Yeah, it's you could find it. No, you just apply with a portfolio in grade 8. So so there's a.
Oh wow, that early.
Yeah. So it's for
wild.
and you can get in grade. So that's for grade 9, but you can apply from grade 9 to 10 if you didn't do that. But it's like they take 2 people, per pro. It's like really hard to get in. So the people who get in a year late are like they're real good.
Right. Interesting.
But
Okay, yeah, that's fascinating to me too. It's so fascinating to me. I don't think I've had anybody on the podcast so far that that knew that that's what they were going to do so early.
Yeah, it's weird.
I love that that's there. I think I had that same mentality. I didn't know exactly what. Well, actually, no, that's not true. I thought I was going to be a computer engineer. My whole time going through college or going through high school and stuff, and then I went straight from Quebec high school to computer engineering.
Okay, crazy.
But I was like, all my Quebec sucker friends are going to CEGEP. And I was like, I know exactly what I'm doing. And I went and did it, and I hated it. And
you don't know until
everything had to crumble,
Yeah.
Yeah, and how do you know,
And there's parts of what I'm doing now where I'm like, this is horrible. Like soul sucking. There's some jobs or whatever, and some days where it's like, it's very, it's very solitary a lot of the time. Like now I do it with my partner and we have a company. So that's a lot better. Like it's in terms of like my mental health and, and my and my interaction with the world and stuff. But there's anything you do, whether it's a dream or not, it has challenges, right? Once you get there.
Yeah. It's not always easy.
No.
It's not
even
magic,
if you
though.
achieve everything you wanted to, it's just, you're just like, oh, then what's next?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Not to bum everyone out, but
no, but I think it's important that people hear that, because I think, I talk, and I think I've talked about it before on the podcast, but I read a book a long time ago called The E-Myth, and it has this portion in it where it's like, just because you know how to bake a really good apple pie doesn't mean you can open up a bakery. Or even that you would want to. Because
exactly.
you like baking pies.
Right.
But do you like inventory?
Do you like selling
pies?
Do
you like selling pies? Do you like cleaning the floors in the bakery?
Yeah,
like
100%.
All this other shit that goes with it that I think we forget or we don't know. And I think it does it a really big disservice. And that's why I was really interested too to have you on, because I think when people think of artists, they're like, oh, make paintings, put them on walls, sell them for big amounts of money, go to galleries.
100%. The public perception of like what an artist is. Yeah. I'm still a pretty traditional, I paint and right, but like murals, I guess, are new, but some people who just.
But like even that's a thing that you could do. Like you could just be a mural artist, and
right?
A decent.
Yeah, yeah. Oh no, I get asked all the time. Like this, people are like, oh, like murals, like you have a company, like. That's a thing, and I'm like, yeah, and I'm like, but it's funny because you go to Europe or you go to like certain, even you go into like Quebec, go to Montreal or something, and it's like completely different. Like people are like very more in touch or with like certain facets of the art world. I guess I don't know.
Where did you? Well, let's before we get to Drift and the mural company. Yeah. So I like the fact, and I wrote this down. I was like, okay, so you're a good artist, but how did you develop being a good business person? Because I feel like that gets missed a lot, and it's kind of on what we were kind of talking about. But
and I love talking about that aspect of it.
You obviously started drawing all your ducks.
Yeah.
And you kept practicing, so that's great. That's not an easy thing to do, but you did that.
Yeah.
But then how do you make money?
So stuff. I think my first experience with making money was in high school because they have an art auction. The visual program would have an art auction, so you could like put your art up and people would just come and bid. But like I remember like in this auction, I'd put pieces in and I would sell them. I would sell like everything I put in for like hundreds of dollars. So like at 16, I'd like $600-800. I'm like, well, I'm gonna retire now. Like it's an insane amount of money when you're in high school, right? And like phones weren't even like a thing. You know what I mean? Like there's no like I'm gonna go buy an MP3 player or something.
Yeah.
but yeah, that was like first experience kind of making money. But like, yeah, the business end came at Sheridan. Like when I had a business class, and like it taught you how to like write a contract and negotiate your rights and licensing, and like all like learning that like, hey, like you never give your art away. You know, you do nothing for free. And like my teacher, God, I can't remember her last name, Catherine, but she was hardcore. Like, she was, you know, compared to my other art teachers who were like very chill, and she was like, you know, she like beat it into us. It kind of felt like, you know, like she's like, this is so important, you know. And she'd give us examples. She's like, oh, you know, I sold this drawing to so and so, this client, for, you know, $150,000 for this little drawing, and we're like, what the fuck? Like, what are you talking about?
How? Why?
And then like once you start putting these monetary, like once you start hearing these real world stories, more what I'm trying to say, like you're just like, okay, like, yeah, this is important, right? Like not because I want to make that amount of money, that'd be great, but it's you need to like realize that your work has value, right? Has real value,
and that you want to keep doing it, and you can't keep doing it if you're not going to keep making money.
Yeah,
you know, like you can love it as much as you want.
That's it.
But you do have to pay the bills. Yeah. And that's the hard part that I find for especially a lot of creatives. And I don't care if you're a musician, a painter, artist, live stream, YouTuber, whoever, whatever, it doesn't matter. You know, we were talking just before we got on air about how many people come to me and are like, oh, like I would love to have a podcast. And I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Great. How many episodes you got? How, like, what's your plan for growth? And they're like, oh, I don't know. And one conversation I always have is like, do you want to do this for money, or are you just doing it? Like, are you doing it because you want to leave a job, or are you doing it because, you know, you have a very good interest and you want to go? And they're like, well, if it happens, it happens. And I'm like, well, then it's not going to happen.
Yeah. No one's going to give it to you. Right. Yeah.
Let's be honest. Do you want to do this full time? And it's like, if you be honest, then you can figure out a way to do that, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I think anyway.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think that's a whole other thing, is like doing it for when I quit my last job and I went full time and I gave myself the opportunity to give all my time to it. That's when things really changed, because I quit that job in 2018, and then 2019 is when it picked up, and then pandemic, whatever. But like, it's gone up steady since then. I was like, you have to give yourself the time, but that's the scariest thing, is to like be like, hey buddy, you have to quit your job if you want to succeed. Like I feel like that's when I say that, people think of it that way. Right. And that's not the case. You know, I have a lot of artist friends who have full-time jobs, government, whatever, you know, everyone has their avenue, you know, you have to dedicate time to it regardless.
Yeah, that's it. You have to find time. Like whatever that looks like, if you want to improve anyway, I think. Yeah. What were you doing in 2018? What were you doing before artist full-time?
I worked at the Mud Oven.
The Mud Oven.
Yeah, the Mud Oven. So it's like a paint it yourself ceramic store. Yeah, then my friend Katie, well, not my friend at the time, Katie Haley, but yeah, like I went in and with my degree in my hand, you know, you're ridiculous, you know. I was like,
I have a fine arts degree.
Like, yeah, exactly, you know. And I was like, well, this is like an artsy place and it's cool. It's been around forever, and I was like, I really like love the business, you know. And then, she gave me a job right away. And then, but yeah, we're really good friends now. But that was my last job. I think I worked there for 4 months.
What did you do before that, though? Because I think you didn't always have an artistic job, right?
Yeah, no, I did work landscaping every summer while I was in school. Okay. For like 11 years.
Because you had a good connection?
With my dad. Yeah. The gentleman gardener.
The gentleman gardener. Yeah. We'll give him a plug. I'll drop a link or something in the description down below.
He's got no link.
Yeah, okay, there's no link.
He's old school.
Just go out in the neighborhood.
No, I think there is a website. I can't
remember. Well, we'll figure it. If he has a website, we'll link it somewhere. But and so was it gardener and then Mud Oven and then artist?
Yeah,
that was.
Oh, and like grocery store when I was a kid. You know,
typical.
And I worked like as a cook or a line cook at the Honest Lawyer.
Okay, all right. Oh,
you remember the Honest Lawyer?
Yes, I do remember that. Yeah.
So my resume had the Honest Lawyer on it. And the gentleman gardener. And then the Mud Oven.
And then the Mud Oven. And now muralist.
It's the most ridiculous, unemployable. I don't know.
Plan B. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, there you go. It's coming full circle. Yeah.
That's so funny. Oh, I love that. I like that. That's I think it's that's just really great, actually. That path is really great.
Yeah.
So when you decided that, what made you decide to just do it full time? How, like, talk to me about emotional, but even the financial part of it, where you're like, were you starting to make money in 2019? And you're like, okay, I think I can actually do this, or were you like, I just gotta do this?
I kind of felt like as soon as I was in art school again, like actually like at Sheridan and really into it and really like loving it, and like learning a lot, I was like, oh no, I'll make this happen. Like, I've been like, I feel like I've had like that confidence, and I'm great. I've had like my ups and downs for sure, but I've like always just created a lot of work. Right. And I feel like that's a huge thing. Like, don't be afraid of creating crappy work. Create, just draw, just do whatever. Just always have work coming out. And I know that's like probably not a popular opinion these days, burnout and, you know, take care of your mental health. But I'm like, you have to create work. You can't, you know, you can't take that 3-year hiatus and expect things to happen, you know? But yeah. I don't know.
I think that's true. I'm of that same mindset. I think of like, I love, I want to talk a little bit about like what inspires you, but I think in that conversation, I think people wait for inspiration.
Yeah.
And I think you can't, like, especially in the creative worlds where it's like, you just have to keep pushing stuff out.
Yeah. Inspiration's not just going to like, you know, it's not like a lightning bolt that hits you. It's like you find it along the way. And a lot of the time when you're like, I run a lot, and that like really helps to clear my mind so I can like kind of let things back in when I'm just so like over just like, I don't want to clean this brush again. Like, you know, like I don't want to mix like this paint when I just can't even like do the act.
Right.
I'm like, I need to clear my head.
You're gonna do something totally different.
Yeah. And like, I don't want to like, and be completely unplugged, no screen time or anything. Like that's like outdoors, and like, I love being outside and stuff, you know, like that really helps. But
yeah, I think that's good. I love, do you spend like, even if you don't have a commission or if you're not working on a mural, do you practice? Are you practicing all the time? Or will you draw in the downtime?
I don't draw nearly as enough as nearly as much as I used to. I used to when I'd be on when we travel and stuff, I'll draw more. But because it's such a full-time thing now as compared to before, like I'm drawing less in my spare time. Like, you know, like I'm like, I'll throw on this reality TV show, you know, like definitely. Yeah. Like I'm not gonna. Like, I already know Annia's my partner. She's going to listen to this later. And if I don't say that I watch TV, she's going to be like, you're such a fucking liar. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That's really funny.
But yeah, no, but like, I like spending time in the studio, but it feels like transactional sometimes. I'm like, I have to be in here to finish this commission by this date. And it's very organized like that, especially this time of year. I'm like, I'm ready to like step back for a minute.
Well, and you're pretty busy. Like, you're pretty busy day to day. Like you kind of said, I brought it up because I this thing's always ruminating in my head of, I love what Jerry Seinfeld used to talk about, how he used to write jokes. And it was like, he would sit down for 45 minutes every day and just write. Now, whether that meant that he actually wrote, but he was like, I could do nothing else. I had to shut everything else off. Right. I had to sit down with my notebook and my pen. Yeah. And if something came, that was great. If it didn't, that was also fine. But I couldn't move for 45 minutes.
Right, yeah, because you're just letting.
He's like, I just need to like think about this.
Yeah,
you know.
And
he
I love that.
And I just like that idea of like, it doesn't have to be a whole day. It has to be half an hour, 45 minutes of like,
and
drawing,
that seems
sketching,
attainable,
whatever.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, it's like you want to get something out and just give yourself that small amount of time. But also, I think it's important to like have that balance or just being able to like sit still and just let ideas come rather than like, okay, while I'm waiting, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, hey, you're distracted. Like, a distraction for an artist or creative, as you know, is a killer. Like, you know, it's the distraction is procrastination is right.
Thinking about ideas. Yeah. Isn't that a great grand time of like how many people have like thought about ideas? In fact, this is many years ago now.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure we were sitting in a pub, which makes sense for both of us. And I think we were talking about like an Ottawa mural festival. Oh. And we talked about it more than once. We never happened.
Yeah, I know.
But we were like, hey, wouldn't that be
about that? Yeah.
We were like, hey, wouldn't that be cool? And like just the idea that
we talked about that back then. I don't remember that, but I don't doubt that it came
maybe
up.
In like 2017 or 20, like way back.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was really easy to think about.
Yeah.
But I was like, all right, well, what would we do? Or how would we get the ball? It was like, I don't know, but that's fine. And then I think we had the conversation, I think more than once. But the whole point to say like,
this is coming back now.
It's just an interesting thing that like the idea is easy.
Right,
the practice
Yeah.
is more difficult.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I've explored that idea again, and yeah, it's the same thing. You get super excited about it, you get some right people in place, and and then it's like, oh no, this is actually really hard and costs a lot of money.
Right. Yeah, when you start thinking about it, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think I think it's an important step to take.
Right. I agree. Yeah.
But I think at some point you gotta do something.
Yeah.
You gotta move the needle. I think a lot of creatives, a lot of people get stuck in that idea department.
Yeah. Well, the ideas are fun. It's like the exciting time, and it's the process of getting through it is. But it's all about the process, though. It's like, it's not about like an end result. I don't think the painting's done, and I'm just like, all right, I'm putting it in storage now.
Right. Yeah. Done with that. It sells. On to the next.
Yeah.
thing.
I just go to do the next thing, and it's like
that's
the creation of it's the best part.
I like that a lot. How many paintings do you think you have that are unsold at the moment?
What do I have? 2, like 5. I have 5. Yeah.
So it's not that many. I was expecting you to say like
no. Actually, well, I had like a mentor of mine, Tim Desclouds, who's like my teacher.
I love Tim.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so he was a teacher of mine. I in high school, but we kept in touch and stuff. He gives me the advice I always need and stuff. And but he said because I was telling him I'm having a tough time getting to galleries and selling this work I have now or whatever. And he's like, look at the grand. He's like, how many shows have you had? And I'd say this many. And, how many pieces you think you've made? And like this many. He's like, how many do you have available for sale now? And I'll be like, 3 or 2, and he'd be like, that's insane. He's like, you've sold everything. He's like, do you have any of that stuff? And I'm like, no, it's all gone. He's like, you sold everything you've ever done, and I'm like, holy shit. Like, I'm like, yeah, I never thought of it that way. I'm not sitting on that much unsold work. Right. I think my oldest piece I have is from, I have some old stuff from school but like, current work I'm trying to sell from 2019. So it's not that far back.
But you're not sad when the art goes out the door.
Not at all.
Like you're I did it. It's gone.
Yeah. No.
Next thing.
Like every visual artist can attest to this. But like you run out of space. Like you're so much like rolling up a paper and like canvas and I paint like pretty big now too, so like it like if you don't have like I wish I had the space you have here, it's just like I like 1 bedroom in the glebe, and it's like it's not nearly enough. But yeah,
you mean in this big warehouse that we're sitting in?
Yeah, of
we're
course,
totally in a warehouse.
Yeah,
it's fine, great.
Hintonburg's filled with warehouses.
Yeah, right in the middle. Yeah, no problem. It's good. Don't mind the green. Don't mind.
As I'm looking at.
Don't look over there. Well, let's talk a little bit about inspiration then, because I think one thing that's kind of been interesting, and it's funny that it started as your main thing was ducks, and I find a lot of nature in your work these days.
Yeah.
Nature, animals, wildlife. Why and how?
I think the switch, like I did a lot of portraits prior. That was kind of like my first focus as a painter, because I still love painting portraits, but I think getting into animals gave me more like leeway and being creative with because people, it's like being I'm gonna try to explain this in the simplest way, but there's so much room in the natural world and stuff to be creative, and I was like super inspired by some things I found there, and like the last series about like symbiotic relationships and really weird like relationships between species, and I'm like, that's so interesting. Like I'd love to paint that, because it already seems like something that's out, like that's fully out of left field, completely made up, like why does this bird just hang out on the back of this boa, it's like, and then you learn, it's like it's learning and it's interesting at the same time, but it's like I love painting that type of stuff too, because it's just like awe-inspiring and beautiful and all that good stuff, which is like makes me happy at the core. But it's just so much, there's so much room there to like play with different techniques and actual like visual and painting techniques, like but yeah, I guess that's and also just kind of stuff I discovered while we travel. So starting to travel more, and then you kind of realize you're like, oh wow, there's a lot of crazy shit in this world, and that's inspiring, right? So I guess in the simplest way, that's all it is, being exposed to stuff. So portraits, when I was just hanging around in Ottawa, Montreal, meeting people around people, city, it's very, and then that makes sense. Once I start traveling, it's nature based. It's kind of makes sense. Yeah. Kind of, telling myself this now.
Different colors, different experiences, educating yourself on even what some of these things are.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess all that because you're curious. I feel like you're probably a curious.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a friend of mine has a joke. She's like, every time we go on a hike, every mushroom you see, you poke it. And I'm like, I always go and I just go, I'm like, I have to like touch it, and I'm probably,
touching it's better than licking it.
Don't
lick it.
No. Not every time.
Not every mushroom. Don't lick every mushroom.
Not every mushroom.
That's really funny. So this, I love that. So that curiosity part, maybe this ties in a little bit before I move on a little bit, but, in school, if you were talking about like grades, some math wasn't always great, but maybe other stuff was.
Yeah.
But if you're curious, and I feel like all of this stuff ties in together. Did grades matter to your parents? Or did you feel
they
like
were
they
proud of like good grades, I guess?
Yeah.
But I don't think they really cared. I don't. I don't think if you're pulling all C's, they'd be like, well, just try harder,
Right.
But like if you're failing, they'd be concerned, right?
Sure.
As that any, like obviously, but if you're coming home straight A's, they'd just be like, oh, great, you almost like it's expected, but I don't care, sort of thing.
I was kind of curious because I think a lot of people lose. I think we talked a little bit about losing your imagination or losing that artistic nature.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of people lose their curiosity too, and I often wonder if that has to do with school and like we kind of get smacked out of us a little bit of like I
agree.
You're good at this. Just keep doing this. This one thing. Don't worry about like. If you're not good at it, don't do it.
I think that's, I 100% agree. I don't think our like traditional curriculum works. And I think that's been proven in so many ways, not everyone's meant to learn in that same setting. I think having like different focuses and different things you're interested in and you can bounce around with like that as a creative person, as like having different interests, like feeds something else, right? That's what being creative is. You're constantly navigating different kind of wavelengths and stuff. So it's like if you're just, if I'm just painting all day, I'm like, this is like torture after a while. Like this is insane, like I want to go like, like when I was young, I'd rap and beatbox and whatever, stuff like that. It's like that was so fun, freestyling and whatever.
And it was okay to be bad at it. Like what I don't even know what bad or good is.
No, exactly.
You were just doing it.
Or just being at a party and everyone's like banging on pots and pans and shit. Like it's just just doing fun stuff. Like I think like having fun is important, but also it's probably the most important. Let's be real.
For sure.
You're trying to make a living at it and all that stuff. Yeah, of course you have different things to focus on, but like if you're not having fun, then it's like I don't know.
What's the point?
Reassess a little bit. Yeah, it's like because it's true. Like you said, if you're really good at making that pie, just because you're good at it doesn't mean you should be doing it as for a living, right?
Or opening up.
And
I've
thought of that a lot of the time.
Or opening up a whole bake shop. I think if you're amazing at pie making and you want to make pies, go work in a bake shop. Like that's okay.
Right. Yeah, it's true. You don't have to do it yourself.
And there's other ways. I think of like. That's what I like about your story too. Of like, and any artist that's like. Still not just painting and putting in galleries. There's so many different ways to get to the same outcome, and it's like,
absolutely.
When you first started as a full-time artist, this is another thing that I think is interesting of like, did you have to obviously you probably had to make some sacrifices in terms of like, maybe you didn't eat out as often. Maybe you didn't but like, does the balance there happen? Like, I think there's a thing that we often overlook of like, oh, I need to buy the better car, the bigger house, the da-da-da-da-da, and you get wrapped up into that world. And I find a lot of creatives sometimes can get wrapped up in there and they're like, oh, well, I have to go do a bank job or I have to go do this job because I need to afford whatever. And it's like, well, do you?
Right, yeah. I know that. Yeah, that's a hard one. Like, in terms of like sacrifice, like
did you ever change your habits to afford your lifestyle?
I don't think so. I've never been good with money, to be honest.
Okay, fair. Yeah.
But so even when I've been been making money, I just spend money and
Okay.
like, you know, and like, and I don't know. Yeah, that's a weird. I think sacrifice time. Like a lot of the time, I wouldn't go out or something because
Right.
I'd be like, hey, no, I have to paint. Like, or I really want to paint. So I'd spend a lot of time to myself because I want to create work and stuff. So I guess, but at the same time, I was still out a lot, and you know, like I feel like I didn't. I kind of
so
did. I
funny.
did what I wanted
Yeah, yeah.
in so many words. You know.
Did you ever feel like you were missing out because you were maybe not making as much money or painting?
But yeah, for sure. And like, you know, it's funny, you know, like the house and the car. Like I just got my like first car this year.
Okay, there,
In 33, you know. So that was very late to the game on that. Like I do not own a house, and that's
Sure.
not even in the
Sure.
vicinity, you know. Like of it's just so there definitely are different focuses and
Right.
and things.
But does
like
that matter? Does it matter to you?
Yeah, I know, but it's interesting because I do think of that sometimes too. I'm like, what have I done? You know, like well, like where have I ended up? You know, and
Yeah.
it's so great in so many ways. And it's but like you know when every time I think about like oh I should have done this or I would have been good at that or I could have done this. You know, I'm like well I have my time now.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like I've earned like the fact that I've
Yeah.
my freedom with my time for the most part. Like a lot of the obviously I have jobs and stuff, but
Sure,
it's like
sure.
I can shift stuff around pretty easily for you know
Yeah.
for a trip or whatever we need to do, you know. So that's yeah the best.
Invaluable,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's all we have, you know.
That's the thing that that's probably the most thing I try to preach on this podcast is
Yeah.
like what are you filling your time with? And like the reason I wanted to do more close to it was because I think so many people get lost in the weeds of like, you know, the 9 to 5 or whatever. And we sell our time
Yeah, yeah,
to whoever, whenever, wherever. And I think most of society says, yeah, that's great.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's like
Sell
when you
that
think when
time
you
to
get
whoever.
there, right? You think when you get to this certain point, you're gonna feel fulfilled and you know I did the right thing and all that. And it's like, well, not always, you know.
Yeah.
And like even you know making a living doing art, I'm like, yeah, that's always what I wanted when I was a kid. And I'm like, oh. Like if I could see myself now when I was a kid, it'd be like, "Fuck yeah, dude!" Like you know, you did it. But like, so that thinking about that kind of is cool. But I'm like, it's still so hard. Like it's not. I don't know. It's like it never really gets easier, right? You achieve one goal and then you have the next goal. It's like what I hear, like you know, guys who like train, you know, they train their whole life, play pee-wee football from when they're like a little kid, and they work their way up, and they get recruited and all this stuff, and then they get to the NFL, and then they work really, and then they win the Super Bowl, and then it's like that's the end, and it's like, and that's like, and then the next day,
And then what?
imagine how they feel the next day.
Yeah,
They're probably
yeah,
like,
yeah.
well. You know, like
Still the same. It's Tuesday.
and they're 22, right? Yeah,
Right.
So it's I don't know. It's
Yeah.
a
It's still
wild thing.
Tuesday.
Yeah, yeah, right.
It's just another Tuesday.
yeah. The confetti's falling.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep. And you know what? The next year, somebody else is going to win the Super Bowl. Probably.
Yeah.
You will be
exactly.
forgotten.
You might never. Yeah. You tore your knee out in that game.
But that's why I think it's really important that you do the thing that fills your time that you like, you know, the most. And that's why, I don't know. So maybe that brings us to now, what you're doing now.
Yeah.
So you started Drift Mural Company.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty cool. That happened a couple of years ago now.
No,
Just
one year
ago.
exactly.
1 year ago.
So we incorporated
Okay.
last October of 2022.
Yeah. So you were already in the mural game. You were kind of doing some murals.
Yeah.
What led to starting the company?
So I guess the main thing was that I was starting to seek more work out of town because I have a lot of projects in Ottawa, and it's just not a big enough market basically to to survive more. So I've been trying to get into like other Canadian, like neighboring Toronto, Montreal, different parts of Ontario. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to try my hand like applying to the mural festivals and stuff. So in 2022, I got into it was my first mural festival in Nelson, BC. So that was a huge one. That was my first job on the west coast of Canada. And then since then, and I realized it's really hard, being away from my partner and stuff, and doing, and it was a lot of work to do on my own.
Right.
And she was helping me in the background, kind of, she was always there to give me a little critique on a design or help me with this and that. Like she's been helping for years. We've been together 8 years. And we just kind of realized we looked at each other. We were driving out to a camp spot one day, and we're like, should we just start a company? And then we're both like, And she's like, well, I'll only do it if you get if we do it 50-50, right? Because
Right,
she needed to quit her
yeah.
job to dedicate the time and all that. And I was like, I can only imagine what we, and it kind of just like that light bulb, and like we just pulled over to a brewery, and then we, of course, over a beer, started writing those ideas, those great ideas, and it was all, and then we had a lot of, moments where we're like, wait, are we actually doing this? Because like, it was a big step for her to like have to quit her job and change her whole career path as well, And but yeah, it was like the best thing we ever did, because this year went fucking amazing, and she's helped so much, and like especially with the travel and being a unit like on the road, It's
how many murals have you done this year? Do you know?
I think like 23, 24 or something.
Right.
Yeah.
So a quarter.
So like double of what I did in 2022, and so it's just
a quarter of, so if you like, I looked at the CV, so 2014 to 2023, 9 years. You've done a quarter in the last year.
Right. Yeah. I know.
Crazy, right?
That's like, so it's just exponential, but I would have never been able to do 23 projects.
That's amazing.
We were in Michigan, Romania, Halifax, Hope, BC, Golden, BC, Squamish, BC, Bellingham, like we're everywhere. I could have never done that alone.
Right.
ever.
Right.
I couldn't have been like just being on the road. Like I kind of got a glimpse into people who travel with work. Yeah. And it's like, it's pretty brutal, like on your every like time zones, and like, I can kind of see how it's not a sustainable way of life, but when you're with your partner and best friend,
your whole life,
it's great. Yeah, exactly. You just pack up, and now we have a rooftop tent for our car, and we're going to drive across the States in 2024. So
when you say car, you mean car, not truck?
Yeah. Well, we have like an SUV.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm imagining like a Buick or something with like a tent on top of the roof.
No. We got something that'll sustain the weight. Yeah.
All right, that's good. I was like, I can't imagine like a car. I've never seen a car with
like a Prius. Yeah.
I was like, only an artist would do that. Okay, good. You have an SUV. That makes sense. That makes me feel better.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, we're safe, Sean.
Okay, that's good. What gave you the idea that a mural business? I've never even heard of that. Like, I didn't know that was a thing.
Well,
did you make that up?
Yeah. Well, Well, there's definitely mural companies that do very much like, like you have a design, we know how to paint, and we'll paint this for you. That's like advertise, like not like an Adidas mural or something with like whatever Usain Bolt on it or something that. But which we would like, we don't paint other people's designs. They're always like my original work. Yeah. But we thought like, this is a way, like we incorporate, we pay ourselves, try to like get rid of the whole, like because like the way I get paid for different projects, like it was freelance for so long. So it was just so like mayhem, right? It would be like, like I make like $3,000 that month and then like 20 the next, like it made no sense. So I can't save. I can't put away for retirement, all that stuff. So we have we did it to structure and he has brought a lot of that to the table in terms of like financial literacy, which I had like none of.
You're like, I know how to paint.
Yeah.
I know colors.
Yeah. Basically.
That's good.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. But now it's like, she's like, okay, well, she's doing the QuickBooks stuff. I'm at the easel, and I have more time to do that. So it's been amazing in that way. And but yeah, so we're just it's more of like a structured thing. But as a mural company, it's we wanted to incorporate, because it's also like like different in taxes and it's all those good things.
But had you ever seen an example of that? Or
I do, yeah. Like I said, like a couple mural companies, but it's true
that,
for
like,
for the most part. It's like individual artists who may have like a collective or a studio of their own or something for like that, like maybe that's how the money's filtered through and stuff like that, but not so much, because now I market myself less as Dom Laporte, and it's more Drift.
Right.
We're just Drift, but I am the sole artist, but she's still she's helping me paint everything when we're on the road. So like she's very much a part of the process. She's not just just writing grants or stuff like that.
Was that something that she was good at?
Yeah,
the painting part.
She actually can paint very well, and she has really good painting chops. And she did a board actually. You have the skateboard hanging out in this warehouse, and she has Yeah, she did a board for the Beyond the Pale show, and I think her
awesome.
her board sold for like the third highest amount or something like that at 250 decks. So I was like crushed it.
Were you in the show?
Yeah, I barely sold it. Yeah,
Would she sell higher than you?
Oh, what, like hundreds of dollars more. Yeah. And she was like kept rubbing it in my face too, and I'm like, yeah, she killed it. So she's a really good painter, and that was the part of the reason of this too. I was like, okay, like you know how to use a brush and you know, intuitive learner. She doesn't ask her. She's like, she just figures it out, right? Just need to ask a lot of questions, and so that's amazing.
What gave you, if we think about like the first, if you go way back, so you know, you start painting, you're doing some graffiti stuff, maybe then you're painting in, you know, on canvases or whatever. What gave you the confidence to paint on a giant wall?
That's graffiti. that's where So like learning how to paint fast, learning how to use spray paint. And then I was like my brother was painting murals with some friends of his. He's 4 years older than me, and they were a little older, and like so I got like my first walls through them basically. So like without that, I would have having the avenue. Like people ask me all the time, like, how do I get into murals? Like, how do you get a mural? You know, and I'm like, I don't even know. Like, I was like, I kind of just got brought on a project as like a, you know, I was painting my own stuff, but it was. Yeah, no, it's a weird thing, but yeah, that's basically how, just having those connections, I guess. Like I was fortunate for that.
Finding connections, I think, is a huge in any. It doesn't matter what career.
And I'm realizing that more and more.
You know, is like how do you get to paint in Slovenia?
No, in Sibiu, in Romania.
In Romania,
well, that was just applying to a mural festival. So you just apply to it, and then we got in. And I was like, oh shit! Like I did not. You never expect. We apply to. I don't know. We applied to like 130 things last year. That's crazy. Like, or this year, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah. So
and now you've started meeting people that will now get the word out, and
exactly.
You know, just kind of keep snowballing.
And like as soon as you meet someone in person, like we went down to Miami to Art Basel and stuff, and check out like you know all the things happening down there. It's a lot of art fairs, and you know so I went down there, and you know there's like a open air kind of mural museum in Amsterdam. So I was like, oh, the curators are at this fair. So I was like, went to the fair, met them, and you know, like you put a face to the name. And I feel like that matters more now than ever. Whereas like, you know, and social media and like the digital aspect helps so many people get discovered, but now I think it's the opposite. It's so saturated that like everyone's email is just packed, and it's like you need to like get back in person and meet people in person and show that you're like kind of a part of the community, you know. I think that helps.
Showing up, I mean, it's half the battle. Probably more than half the battle, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like even having your face in front of people, I think, is so important. Yeah, you're right.
Not a bot.
Yeah, you're right. yeah, you're right. Yeah. I think I was watching a couple. I've seen you paint. One, I've seen you paint here in Ottawa. But two, I've seen some of the videos that you've done. Just time lapse videos and stuff. You're a doodle gritter?
The doodle grid.
Have you always been doodle gritter?
No. A friend of mine, you know Ryan Smeaton.
Yeah.
So he was doing the doodle grid before me, and I didn't know what it was. I saw some other artists do it, and I was like, "What the fuck are these guys doing? Like, what are these? What are these little drawings?" I'm
Why
like,
are they just painting?
I'm like, are they just having fun as they're doing their real design? That's what I thought. And then I saw a video, and it just broke it down. And it's just like a non-structured grid, you know, right? And it's so it's quick. Take a photo, overlay your design, then you have all these reference points. But it looks like I dread doing it every project, especially if you're in a small town. I was painting in like Smiths Falls and different places. I don't want to name drop places. Everyone in these places is great, but it's like people are just so confused and horrified. They think I'm tagging the wall, and people just like yell things at me, you know. And it's just like, please just ask the question. You don't have to like throw a coffee out of your car at me, you know.
Yeah, that's happened.
Like,
that's happened.
Yeah, close to more like worse than that, you know. But but not, you know. Nothing too outrageous, but
that's crazy.
Yeah, painting on the street's insane. Like it really.
Yeah, you know, I mean, you're just out there.
You're out there. People, and some people just love to just interact and stick with you all day, and you know, and that's a lot of that's like it's nice. Like I want to hear what people have to say, but you're definitely you have to like kind of weather everyone's everyone's personalities. Just say it right. Like,
yeah, I guess that's true. You would never. You don't. you're completely out in the open and accessible to anybody.
Yeah.
To just walk up.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
do whatever.
And you're attracting a lot of attention by painting a big piece of artwork. Yeah. So, yeah, that's a wild aspect of
What's
painting
the
murals.
wildest mural story like from the public that you've ever had?
Some of the more uncomfortable ones, like, you know, working in like downtown settings and dealing with people who are like, you know, like drugs and stuff, and clearly have not gone to bed from the night before and you know, and you're just kind of dealing with them early mornings. I show up at like 7 a.m. at the wall. I usually paint in the mornings. So dealing with like kind of these types of people, like, you know, is really difficult on the job. But then also like the very kind, you know, like old lady who is like, you know, like, oh, I hate that graffiti, and, you know, like that type of thing, or just asking, you know, oh, how much do you get paid? And like, you know, so there's like that, all those. And that's kind of like inside joke with like muralists too, is how, you know, it's like if I have to hear like, oh, I can only draw a stick man, you know, it's like that's the things, like everyone has those queued up little things when they come up to talk to you. And it's like everyone's trying to be nice and stuff, but it's like, well, I've heard that like 19,000 times, you know? So it's like, I'm not going to give you the time of day with that lame ass joke, you know? But
what? Yeah, that's really funny, actually. That's the same routine joke all the time. And
Yeah.
you're like, haha, yeah, definitely never heard that.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like yeah. Anyway, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Yeah, I don't think there's any like one cert. Like, there's definitely been times where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take a break and come back because I can't handle this or whatever. Yeah. But like the worst thing is just dealing with like a lift that doesn't work, or like the weather. Usually the weather. Like you have to paint outside, you know, and it's like, yeah. So those types of things.
Okay, can I tell you something really funny? So when I was looking at your CV, I'm like, you know, I'm going through the website, I'm looking through the CV, and I'm like, oh, that's really impressive. This is really great. And I get to the fact that you have like certification in aerial lifts.
Oh yeah.
I was like, aerial lifts. I was like, I didn't know Dom was in the circus.
No, yeah.
And then it literally took me a minute to be like, oh, he's talking about a scissor lift.
Yeah, definitely paint walls on a tightrope. Yeah.
I was like, oh, why? I was like, why did I think that? And I was like,
the word
man,
aerial,
anyway.
I think, is not.
But then I was like, oh, and then it said like, and aerial work platforms. And
oh
yeah,
like, yeah. There you go.
He's talking about scissor lifts.
Yeah,
that was my dumb moment when I was like looking through some stuff, and I'm like, okay, Dom never
people
was
look
in
at
the
me
circus.
sometimes as, you know, as a mural artist on the street, and they're just like, how are you doing? Like, it almost is like they're observing someone in the circus.
Sure,
right? You know, like you're in the motorcycle in the wheel or whatever, you know, you're doing something so crazy and entertaining, you know?
And I like that. We talked about this just before we went live, but it was like that idea of people saying like, oh, I wish I could draw like you. I liked your answer then was like, well, you could, you just have to practice. Like,
yeah. That's it. You know, you put the time in, you know, and like a lot of people don't want to actually put the time in,
right?
You know?
And it's a lot of
want
failure.
to just get to the end. Yeah. Like I look back at my older work, I'm like, oh my God, trash. Like all of it, you know, of course you get better, and it's like, I'll look back at my work now, and I'm sure I'll be unhappy with it in 10 years, you know, and it's like, that's just how it goes. And but you have to, I don't know, you have to put the time in. That's all. That's all it is. There's nothing else I could add on to that. Yeah.
I feel like, and that's, I don't know if we just don't, well, maybe we just don't have the luxury of that time, maybe in the creative world sometimes, where it's like you have to start making money so people stop. But I'm like, yeah, but what if you did a painting every night? Like, you know, just
you could make
home from work and make a half an hour paint. Sit down and paint for half an hour.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure. And I'm sure you could monetize that kind of scenario in some way too, right? Like do it as a time lapse or a learning scenario, or get the public to learn with you. Like there's so many ways to do it now, rather than just like, okay, I suck. That gallery's down the street's not going to take my work. Right. So I better just get really good so they take it. Like at a certain point, that's all there was. Right. Now it's like, okay, well, you know, we have all this different ways to do things, you know that better than me, right? Yeah, it's like.
Do you think people work with you also? So your talent isn't really amazing, and your art is amazing. Do you think people also work with you because of who and how you are?
I don't know. I hope so. Yeah, like
I feel like
I try to be a good person to work with, and I think trying to be like kind and understanding, and just be like, you know, a generally like good person to be around is like super important.
Yeah.
Like no one wants to work with an asshole, right? Like, or at least rehire, you know, like you never want like, a client hires you once, they weren't happy, but they paid you and then they're gone.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And, you know, I'm sure I have a couple of those. They're not, you know, we don't always get along with everyone, I guess, but
I think like being organized and stuff, which maybe now seeks
for
more
sure.
partner
And
thing,
I'm like that's one of the things I pride myself on the most is like being organized, being punctual.
Yeah.
You know, like don't like show up on a meeting, on time. Don't be stoned, you know, and like, you know, like be like a person that they could rely on, right? Because that's what most people, when they're going to give you money, they better trust you with that money. It's sort of like that sort of thing, right?
But I think it's lost.
It's being professional. That's
I think that gets
so
lost in that world of like art and creativity. I think that get lost sometimes.
For sure. Yeah.
Where it's like, and I think that's an important thing to keep coming back to of like I get to go and speak to different student groups and whatever. And, you know, and sometimes I'm taking interns and I'll go in and say, I expect all of you to be really good at Photoshop.
Right.
Like,
right.
I expect you're all amazing at it.
Yeah.
So what's the skill that is going to set you apart, right?
Right,
it's like,
right. That's such a good way to frame it.
I was like, there's 35 of you. You've been in this program for 3 years. I'm now going to get to look at all of your work. And some of the work is just going to be stuff that I don't really like, but I'm sure it's talented, but it's not, not for me.
It's not going to strike a chord with you. Yeah.
But I'll never forget. There was this one story, and I feel like this kind of relates to this. This young woman. So I went and spoke at a local college, and you know, and then I usually get a flood of emails that are like, "Oh, I'd love to come work for you or with you," blah blah.
Right.
You know, all this stuff, and one of them literally was just like, "Dear sir, I would love to come and work for your company," and I was like, "This person doesn't even know who I am." Like that's how they addressed it, literally.
Right.
I was like, I was like, you have just like splattered that out to everybody.
Oh, right, yeah. So
like,
it's just a copy paste.
I would like to work for your company. Like, didn't name the company, didn't name me.
Right, yeah. Nothing that they find, they resonate with. Yeah.
So I looked at their stuff and I was like, okay, well that's kind of interesting. It's like it's really good stuff. It's just not the style that we use.
Yeah.
So I was like, there's nothing against that. So I wrote back to that person, which I actually probably normally in a form letter I probably wouldn't.
I was going to say good on you for responding.
Normally wouldn't, but if it's students that I've went and spent some time with and I've talked to, and I was like, I don't mind doing that, and I don't mind giving them a little
I'm happy to hear that you do that, because so many, I like 90% of the things I apply to, no response.
Sure.
You know,
and I don't mind doing that, especially with students. And I replied and I was like, yeah, I think your stuff, you know, is great. It's just not the style that we use.
Yeah.
Maybe you have that style, but you didn't show it in any of your work. I don't know, whatever.
Right.
I hope you find
someone else did.
Yeah. I hope you find a really good spot. Yeah. Someone else has already taken it, whatever. Then I got a very personalized email that wrote back to me and was like, how dare you? You wouldn't even know if creativity hit you in the butt. My style is amazing. Like, like your whole company's crap. And I was like, oh.
All right, well, I got a message for that guy, or whatever. You know, you get ready to be rejected if you're in the creative industry. Like, I get just this week, like 7 things. You know, that we spent a lot of time doing proposals for and designs and whatever, and just got you know,
and it's just not my I didn't even say her stuff was crap. I just said it wasn't my our style,
which should be that, which is like a perfect critique of the exactly. It's
so I don't know. It's just that, but that kind of stuff sets you apart, right? And I was like, okay, well, that person. And so what ended up happening was a friend of mine ended up getting an email from that same person.
Okay.
And I immediately, who owned a design company, and I said, oh, well, I'm just going to tell you what happened between us.
Yeah.
And then he was like, oh, well, I'm not going to hire that person. And I was like,
well, there you go.
Yeah. So I was like,
that's the thing.
Yeah, and it took like a small. I was like, you didn't have to send that email.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you could have been like, thanks so much for taking the time, or not respond,
or just not respond, just not give you any ammo with their name attached.
Right. And I was like, but that's the thing that I think sets people apart sometimes, that we forget of, like, your art was good, like her art style, her graphic design style was good. It just didn't suit what we needed. And I was like, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. That's a legit critique of the work and having things. Yeah, exactly. And it's like, though, I'm sure she found success. Like,
yeah, I'm sure she went and did something else good.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's just that small thing that I think we forget too, of like, what's the soft skill that you have? Like your hard skill is painting, but what's all the other soft skills that you can bring to the table and make yourself? And I think that gets missed sometimes.
Yeah, that's actually, I like the way you put that, hard and soft skills, because I feel like being an artist and knowing the business end and making a living off it, like it's like, I'd say it's like a combination of like 3 hard skills and 7 soft, you know, sort of you need to have like, I think I'm a good writer. My partner's a better writer. So she's like, we like form like Voltron. Like we're like a transformer now. Like we're just like kind of formed into this, like this thing that can like do multiple things now, you know? But I always thought, I was like, oh, I'm decent at photography, but she's better at photography. So our skills have gotten, but then it's like, but I think just being a good person to work for and trying to be like, I don't know, as genuine as possible and not feel like clients don't feel like you're just picking their pocket and stuff, you know? I don't know. Just trying to make it a good experience for everybody. It's like all you can do.
And why not?
Yeah, I know exactly.
Like why wouldn't
that's
you?
What I want, right?
Why
it's
wouldn't
like,
you?
Yeah, like I want, like dropped off a painting to a client yesterday, and I was like, they're the most like loveliest people, you know? And I'm like, this feels great. I'm like, you're happy, I'm happy. We're having a great discussion. We're having some laughs, and it's like that's what I want, you know? And it's like at the end of the day, connecting with people too. So it's great.
Yeah, I totally agree. So before I let you go, so I got 2 more. We've been going here for a while. I got 2 more little questions for you.
Oh wow.
Yeah, right. Yeah, time flies.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah.
Talk to me about. So how often do you say you have doubt in your work or in when you're applying to things? Oof. Does doubt creep in?
Yeah, but it doesn't stop me in any way. It doesn't slow me down, I would say. But doubt is for sure always there. Imposter syndrome. Yeah. My work is shit. It doesn't deserve to be here. I don't deserve the success.
So why doesn't it?
But it does I feel like it bounces in the opposite way as well. So I'll be like, well, no, sometimes like I have those moments of being like that person, and you know, like, no, my work is better than that person who got that opportunity. You know, fuck them. Yeah. And then I turn into that guy, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde sort of situation. But it's like a total swing of. But that's just how I am. But yeah.
What do you think helped you develop that, like, I don't know, the self-esteem to push through, or like that's one thing that I just think people just don't have a good grasp of. Like, how do you, when doubt hits, especially for creatives, a lot of people stop.
Yeah.
How do we get them to stop stopping?
Yeah, just
what's the answer, Dom?
Yeah, I know. So yeah, I don't know, man. Like you just don't. Yeah, I don't know. Like there's no. You just have to you have to power through it, right? It's like a bad day at work or something. Like you have to. Right. You have to you're gonna finish your day at work though, right? You're not gonna go home from work. You know, if you're having a bad day, it's like you can have a bad day, you can have doubt, but you doesn't mean you quit the thing. It's just like you have to pass through that thing. And I don't know, maybe I'm good at that because I don't know. I'm someone who responds like positive encouragement. Like if I get like a bad comment on an Instagram post and 100 good ones, I think about that one bad one, and it like really hard to get over that, right? Like, so maybe that positive encouragement as I was a kid really like made me feel like it doesn't matter about doubt and all that shit. It's gonna be fine. Like I'll make it. You know, like, so maybe that was instilled when I was a kid. I don't know.
Maybe it goes back to that no plan B.
Yeah, no plan B.
I think that's like your. I think it's I've never heard anybody say that.
The coolest shit I've ever done is that I had no plan B. There you go.
I think that's it. I relate to that a lot because I remember when I first started my company and I was like, not making any money, and I was like, barely making rent, and I was living in a basement apartment, and I was like,
sounds familiar.
I was like, I was like a normal, reasonable person would have went and got a job. And I was like, I do not want to get a job. I will be homeless before I stop doing the thing I'm doing.
Yeah.
And then like by sheer whatever determination, somebody would be like, here's the $1,000.
Right.
And I'd be like, oh, fuck. Yes.
Yeah.
I can afford one more bag of rice. Yeah. And I can pay my rent.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like, okay, well, I'll do this for one more month. And then it was like tricking myself maybe into that of like, okay, I'm going to do this one more month.
Yeah.
Just one more. I'm going to keep going one more time. and then at some point it was like, okay, well now I don't have to. Now I've got like 3 months. In the bank
exactly.
Or
You know, a little bite, a little bit of time. And
Yeah.
I think that's a huge thing too.
Just the radical self belief. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or the swings of it. Sorry, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah. Okay.
Is when it's really having a hard time and you really think it's, okay, like I haven't gotten a job in a while, and then it picks back up. So it's like on the upswing is like, and obviously those like hits of dopamine, serotonin, when that happens, or get a job or something. And it's like that I like live for those moments, like apply for things, you wait, and then you get awarded this contract, and you're like, oh, it's like that thrill of the hunt sort of thing. Is like, I love that part of it. So I love when it goes down, because I'm like, it's going to go up again. So maybe getting used to that. That's kind of good training for life in general, I think. But
That's actually a really good point.
Yeah.
It probably will always go up. If it goes down, it's probably going to come back up.
That's life, light and dark, whatever, ups and downs.
Can't have
like
the sunshine without the darkness.
That's it. So it's like, it's kind of that.
True.
I don't know. That's like fortune cookie wisdom, but it's like
But it just is.
It makes sense.
It's just the way it is.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, and I don't
freelance
know.
will teach you that.
I wonder if other people would disagree. Like, I wonder if people would actually disagree with that and be like, no, sometimes life just keeps kicking in the ass. And I don't know. That's
100% true. Talking from a place of privilege, maybe, right? Like,
I don't know.
And it's just to have the opportunity to have the time to make a living or try to pursue art. Like I just and had a family to do that. Like that's a massive privilege to begin with. For sure.
I don't know. It's funny because I had a different setting. We had a great family. I had no problem growing up, but my family was always very risk averse and very much like, well, you can't I'm pretty sure my dad would still give me an ad to go like get a job at some well, and that has happened. It was probably like it's like been a little while now, but but like long into doing this, he was still pulling out jobs for me,
right,
and was like scared.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
well, I think that's all it is, right? And they grew up in such a different generation,
Sure.
right? It's just like, there's no people who were artists. It's like, there was 10 of them.
You're right.
There was like Keith Haring, whatever, in New York, it's like, you can count them on your hand, right?
Yeah.
It's not like everyone you meet now is a filmmaker and, and everything.
And there's so many avenues to do, to be an artist, to be a filmmaker. You can be a filmmaker and never set foot on an actual
never go to Hollywood or whatever.
You don't have to.
Yeah. You can live in a small town in Mexico and it doesn't matter.
Right.
From anywhere. You have an Ethernet hookup and it's like, which is like the amazing part, but it's also,
But I think it's coming. I think, and that's one of the reasons I like having people like yourself on. Like if you're someone out there and you want to do a mural company, you could do it. There's proof.
Yeah.
There's a guy sitting right here who's done a mural company. That's not a thing. Like who that's not a thing.
Yeah.
Like my job's not a job. Your job's not really a job. Like we just made this shit up.
Yeah. I know exactly.
And you're like, wait, that can happen?
Yeah. And you put time in and then you drink a few of these and
and you surround yourself with the right people and the people that
exactly.
support you and the people that and you don't be an asshole and
don't be an asshole and learn how to be rejected.
Yeah, learn how to be rejected
is a massive one.
Yeah.
I think. I think people don't like. Well, no one likes being rejected, but grow a thick skin.
Well, and they're probably also not rejecting you. They might even be rejecting I have one designer who I work with, and I absolutely love her ability to. If I'm like, hey, I'm just thinking of this idea, can you do like a little drawing quickly for me or something? Like I'm thinking about this logo or this whatever.
Yeah.
She'll sit down, draw it on a napkin, like while we're sitting there, and she'll be like something like that. And I'll be like, yeah, but maybe more like this or that and whatever. And like she doesn't. I'm not attacking her.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, I did this in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I can refine that. And then it's like, okay, here, no, this, that, the other, and like she's not attached. I think that's a huge thing that I think in my world anyway, and maybe this is a little off tangent.
I think it's same with visual art too. Is like not being. It's like something that you create.
Like,
and
it's okay.
Especially if you're in that like logo and design and like there's client feedback and stuff. You have to be ready for it to have the bones ripped out of it.
And it's not attacking you as an individual or as a creative. It's just we're just trying to come to a point where like you're awesome talent and my dumb idea is going to somehow meld, or something. You know?
Exactly. And I think that would be a like a synonymous trait with everyone who's successful in a creative role, is that like they're a good person to work with.
Yeah.
I can't imagine, unless you're like, I don't know, trying to think of like, a massive director, like, I don't know, Steven Spielberg, I'm sure he's cool, but like, what if he's a giant asshole? This doesn't matter because it's Steven Spielberg.
right. Yeah. Maybe that's okay.
He's going to be fine. Yeah.
But maybe you gotta put your gears in before you can get there.
Yeah. You got to make Jaws.
Okay. So I got one last question for you, before we wrap up. If, so Drift is going well. You're doing a lot of things. You've got murals coming up in the new year. What's one thing that if you could have someone wave a magic wand or do something that would help your creativity move forward or help your company move forward, what's one thing that you think would help propel your creativity?
I guess it'd probably be to be able to get, well, like right now the goal, I guess the answer would be what our goals are, is just trying to get into a certain few mural festivals that are just some of the biggest in the world, and just be able to be more put on that world stage, I guess. But like just get a couple of those key kind of bucket list jobs, because there's thousands of them, but like other than that, I feel like we're on a trajectory where like we want to be, and like we want to just be on the road working and traveling, and have a job on the East Coast and the West Coast, so we could drive across the country and go to all the national parks, that's kind of what cool. So it's like, but I think just getting into a couple of those key places would be like what would help us really like get noticed.
What makes you not get in? Is it just the writing, or is it
it's the competition?
Just like the competition. There's so many.
These festivals get like 2,000 applications, and there's so many amazing mural. I find a new one every day, and it's like cool. and like the work is just fucking unbelievable, like I think I'm good, and then I'm like fuck this. Not like I'm like, right. But like that's the thing, it keeps me on my toes, so it's but yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, I like that actually.
I'm gonna try that.
Yeah, I like that a lot actually. I like that. Yeah, a little bit of competition never hurt anybody.
No. That's
what
like,
happens when
I'm a very competitive person with that. Like I like that aspect of like, like beating you to the this or that. Like I like that aspect of art as well, which is weird. Like I did a lot of the art battles, as you know, and stuff, right? So that was like, that shit's the funnest to me.
Right.
Friendly competition, not
Sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's good. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Of course, man.
A few more cool shit.
It was a blast.
Hanging out with us.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, man.
For sure.
All right. Well, there you have it. That's episode 46. I cannot thank Dom enough. I cannot thank you guys enough for sticking out, listening to the whole conversation. What an amazing conversation it was. I hope that you guys took away as much from that, and that you took away the excitement, the energy, but most of all, the idea of running an art business, of running as being a creative, but also running a business, I think is so important. And I think Dom balances those two things so well. And I give a lot of credit, and I know Dom would give a lot of credit as well to his partner, both in life and in business, because I think, we've talked one thing about that in this podcast. I've said it so many times, but you have to find your people. Well, I think Dom's really found his person, and he's found not only an amazing support person, but in just one aspect of life, but in so many. So shout out, Dom, to your amazing partner. Shout out to you, who have been doing so much great work, and I can't wait to see and inspire. I follow, if you're not following Dom's social media accounts, you'll find all the links down below. Please go follow all those. Please go follow Drift Mural Company. I just love it. And the one thing that I actually love that we didn't really get to talk about much on this episode was the impact that he's having in the communities that he's having that he's doing art in. If you follow the social media accounts, one of the things I love is watching the kids react and the kids being able to see. And I hope that if you're listening to this, that's what that's one of the takeaways you take out of this, right? Is that the passion, the desire, and how that can feed into other people, and how that can encourage the next generation of artists. And that's what we're trying to do here. And Dom's doing it every freaking day when he's out there painting these giant murals, and the community gets to look and see. And I hope that every one of you, and I hope that every one of the people, and every one of the people that are watching Dom paint, get to look at that and go, holy shit, man, I love art. I hope art can be my life. And I hope as you listen to Dom, you understand that art and being an artist and being a creative doesn't just have to happen in one particular way, that you can do it in a million different ways. And I hope that you guys get out there, you go make as much cool shit as you possibly can. And I am so excited for you guys to get out there. So go make some cool shit. I'm your host, John McDonnell, once again. Of course, go to the domorecoolshit.com. Tell me all the things you're working on. And until the next time, I hope you guys are doing amazing, cool, creative stuff, and share it with me. All right. See you guys later. Until next time, go make more cool shit.